Hey there, fellow trekkers. I'm Linda, your park ranger, here to introduce today's adventure. You might hear me in the background as we navigate the trail together. Today, we're setting off from the trailhead for Padlet, your first step on this exciting hike. If you're using Padlet for the first time, this is the perfect place to start. Padlet is an online interactive virtual bulletin board, but don't let that simple description fool you. It's more like a wide-open digital clearing where ideas come to life. Students can post text, images, videos, documents, links, and more, all in one shared visual space. As you explore, you can keep following the Padlet Trail or blaze a new one. We've mapped out beginner, intermediate, and advanced trails for every level of EdTech hiker, covering a range of powerful classroom technology tools. Can't spot the next landmark on your journey? Check back soon. We're always adding new trails to explore. Even better, subscribe so you never miss a new path to discovery. Lace up your boots. It's time to hit the trail.
Thanks so much. Excited for the hike today. It's going to be great to share more with you all about Padlet, in particular about Padlet Sandbox. So I will go ahead and share my screen. So we were talking about the sandbox part of Padlet today. I'm excited because oftentimes I'm kind of squeezing in talking about Sandbox among all the other things about Padlet, and here we get to really focus in on all the great capabilities in our sandbox mode. And what that means is we have a whiteboard tool, and I'll be showing you all of it, and you'll get a chance to play around a little bit as well. So this is a little bit more about me. I'm the Education Marketing Manager at Padlet. I've been here for a little over 2 years, and before that I spent a long time in the San Francisco School District mostly. I was a teacher, and then I was a coach, and then I was a director of digital learning, and so I had a lot of fun getting to be in a lot of different grade levels and see how technology and how different apps were used with different students, and learn from a lot of wonderful teachers all over. So hope to be bringing some of that back into Padlet and thinking about how Padlet can really be most useful for instruction with your students. All right, so first of all, actually, let's go to let's try it first, because it's always fun to kind of get our hands into Padlet. So I'm going to give you a direct link to this Padlet. And this is a Padlet Sandbox. So if you've used Padlet before, you might notice that it looks a little different than some of our other Padlets because it is a whiteboard. So if you come onto that link that I just put into the chat, you'll have some tools here along the right-hand side. So my first question for you is, what's one thing you would bring if you were trapped on a desert island? So you can come over here to the right side, and you can use any of these, maybe Post-its. So maybe I'd bring some delicious food. You can come over here and play with maybe some emojis if you want to do that. And there's also this bottom button with the 3 dots, has access to all the attachment types. So if you want to go look around and maybe search for an image, maybe you want to upload something or record something new. So maybe I'll come in here, and I would love to bring my kitty cat along. So I'm going to put a picture of that in. A tent, that seems very useful and practical. So you can imagine some kind of fun opener questions like this that you could do with really any group, whether you're with a group of adults or a group of students, as a way to get to know each other, or on a more academic topic as well. If you want to have a quick opener related to something you're learning, maybe you want to ask them what they already know about a topic, or maybe you have an exit ticket and you want to find out kind of a quick reflection. You could do all of those things pretty quickly and easily on a Sandbox whiteboard. Sandboxes can also have multiple pages or cards. So if you've used Google Jamboard in the past, sadly not around anymore, Linda and I were just talking about some of these tools that are so wonderful when we were in the classroom. But Sandbox can do a lot of the similar things that Google Jamboard can do. With one important difference, if you were a Jamboard user, one really important distinction is that students cannot delete each other's things. And you'll notice that right now. So posts that other people have made, you can't come onto them and move them or delete them. So you can only interact with your own posts. But you can put things here on multiple pages. So if you want to click down to the second one, you can come over here. So you can really split up your questions, or you can have different groups go onto different pages, and you can be kind of flexible. So I'll encourage you to keep playing around on here. Yeah, try the Post-it notes, try some of these other things. Let me see. I like to go to a beach. I might just search for different things on here. So anyway, you can have lots of different topics here. Sometimes teachers use this to split out groups and to have a discussion about something, and then you might come back to the whole class and be able to kind of visually see what the conversation was about and share out with the whole group. So it's a nice way to get everyone participating. While people are trying this out, I'll just show you a few more things around the Sandbox interface here. So as you've already been trying, there's a lot of tools here on the right-hand side. And from talking with teachers and students, it's quite intuitive for students, maybe even more so than Padlet boards, because so many students have used some kind of whiteboard, and a lot of these tools are very familiar, like the drawing tool and the text tool and all of these things. I think the one thing that might be a little different is that we have so many different attachment types. So if you did want to take a picture or record a video or record a conversation or speaking, you could do that right here built into the board. You could even do something like a poll or generate an AI image or link to a file that you have somewhere else. So you can collect all different kinds of things, and it's very flexible. Now, and sometimes you really want all of those things, and sometimes you might want to kind of change some of the settings that you have. So there's also this settings gear here, and you can control a lot of things about this Padlet. So I can give it a different wallpaper, I can change the font, I can turn on or off cursors, so you can see that people's little cursors are here. If people were logged in, it would actually say their names. And then I have a couple of other options here too. This is one of my favorites, this allowed tools. This allows me to choose which tools I want to make available to the group. This is available on Padlet boards as well, and really nice for kind of focusing in students on one type of thing you want them to do. So hopefully this doesn't interrupt anybody, but I'm going to turn off all the tools for a moment and just kind of show you what that looks like. And I'm just going to put on Post-it notes. So now you'll see over here on the right-hand side, you can't add images anymore, and you can't put in any of those other attachments. And I've just left these Post-it notes. So sometimes you might just want to have a brainstorming discussion just with Post-it notes, and you can control that in your settings and make it really specific. All right, I'm going to come back here to allowed tools, and I'll put them all back on because it's fun to have all of them. So there they are, and you can see how quickly it updates, and that's something that's true about all of our kind of Padlet sandboxes and boards. When you change a setting, it happens right away. So if you need to change something in the middle of your lesson, you can do it and know that it will immediately kind of take those settings. And I've definitely used that in the past, like maybe sometimes I want to start out a brainstorming discussion with students and I just want them to put things on Post-it, so I do that. And then maybe later I do want to open it up, and then I can change that on the fly. And then maybe at some point we're done and I want to stop having students contribute. And I'll just come up here to the sharing arrow here, and I'll just change this to a read-only Padlet. And now my screen is still available, but you'll see that you all can't add anything more. And sometimes I've had to do that with students because they're just like really having fun doing things, but we have to move on. So that might happen to you as well. But you can flip that and it will change right away. All right, so you got a little taste of what Padlet Sandbox is like, kind of the basic form of it. Now I'm going to show you kind of a little bit more about how you would get started. So if you're on Padlet, how you would make a new one, and kind of some of the nice features we have along with that. So I'm going to start right here next, and I'm going to show you on Padlet.com where you go to make a new sandbox and some of the ways you can explore and use templates and all of that kind of thing. I should also say that I'm going to come back to Padlet here, Padlet.com. If you don't have a current account, or maybe you had one in the past, you can always sign up for a new account. So Padlet accounts are free to make. Anyone can make a Padlet account at Padlet.com, and then you can have up to 3 Padlet boards for free. And so what I mean by that is this guy that I'm on right here, whoops, this one, is a Padlet board. And this is kind of the traditional Padlet where you see these post boxes. You can have up to 3 of those with a free account. We actually have a promotion right now for Sandbox where you can make as many sandboxes as you want with a free account. So it's really a great time to be learning about Sandbox and just try making a bunch of them, see if you like it, see if it's useful in your context. So that is going to be through the end of June, so you can kind of continue making sandboxes and see if it's useful to you. So on our make page here, so I'm on Padlet.com and then I clicked on the plus make button here. These top ones are different formats of our kind of traditional Padlet. So this is a Padlet wall. You can also do some fun things like a timeline or a map. But we're going to talk about this second row right here, and these are all kinds of whiteboards or sandboxes. So if I wanted to make my own sandbox, I would just click on this first one. It's going to give me a blank whiteboard. I often like to begin with a question like we did in that example right there. So I could come to the text tool and I can say, what is your favorite hobby, or whatever I want the question to be. And really, it's that simple to create a new sandbox that you can use in your class. I've even had teachers say that between classes, they want a quick opener and they just open up Padlet and they make a quick question like this, and they can have something ready very quickly. What you do after this, if you want students to have it, you can come to the sharing arrow, and it'll give you a couple of different options here. It's good to check your permissions here to see what students can do. This example that I'm showing you right now is in a school account, so it has some different permissions, and it's one of the advantages of school accounts. You can make it private to just your school logins and your students. But even for a free account, you have control over what you want visitors to do. You can decide if they can read or write. You can also decide if you want to have them log in to a free Padlet account, or if you don't need them to log in, like the sandbox I was just on, you didn't have to log in on. Sometimes that's quicker and easier, but then it won't show your name. And so you have a couple of different options here. You can also get a QR code for those of you who are using tablets or phones. Really easy to kind of put that up and have students scan to get over to this whiteboard. So yes, quick to set up, and you can have students be really creative on here as you're making a whiteboard. The other thing that comes up at the bottom here is the ability to start from a template. So if I click on that, we have a lot of built-in templates that are great, like things like Venn diagrams or brainstorming diagrams. If I pick one of these, I can then put my own kind of heading in here. So whatever topics I want to kind of cover, I can customize it more. And each time I add a new page or a new card, I can access this template menu again. There's a lot of fun things in here, like a comic strip or a pro and con list. Sometimes I actually just start with one of these templates, even if it's not exactly what I want, because it kind of gets me started. I don't have to make every single box and every single text box. So sometimes I just want a 4-square layout, and maybe I don't want these headings. Maybe it's something totally different. Maybe I have like a problem of the day in math or something, or a number of the day, like a number, and I want them to kind of break out expanded form or write a word problem to do with that. So it's very flexible with all these templates. They get you started, but they don't lock you into exactly that template if you want to do something different. All right, let me show you a couple of things that have been made with templates, and I'll start showing you a couple of ideas as we go. So this is some of my colleagues making some funny examples of Venn diagrams. You can imagine Venn diagrams being a fun way to explore a lot of topics. So these were some funny ones: banana versus banana slug, apple versus orange. I think we might have had some local ones, or yeah, we had some animals in here. So you can do some fun things with Venn diagrams or with some of the other templates there. Here is another one of our templates called the mood meter. This was a fun one I did with a group recently. It's actually funny. I have two of my own kids who are in middle school and high school now, and one of their elementary teachers, I think it was their 5th grade teacher, had a physical mood meter up on the board. I'm not sure if people are familiar with this, but it's out of, I believe it's Yale's Center for Emotional Intelligence, as a way for students to kind of check in, see how you're feeling, and there's a couple of different grids here. Let me show you this one. So this is their graphic here, with the idea that one axis is about like high energy, low energy, and the other axis is about like happiness or sadness. And so just as kind of welcoming in wherever students are at. And I even like doing this with older students or with adults too. Just how are you feeling today? And I kind of get a pulse check on how people are doing. It could be then a creative expression as well. Choose a word, find an interesting word, or say how you're doing, or add an image to go along with that. And I can kind of get a sense of how people are doing. In this one, some people used emojis and some people used their initials, but a couple of different ways you could do that. And then one more here, actually two more here I wanted to show you. I'm not sure if people are familiar with the Project Zero thinking routines. This is something I used a lot when I was teaching. It's out of Harvard, and they have some different routines, probably many that you've heard of, like the 3-2-1, and some different like reflections. And a lot of these work really well in Padlet Sandbox. So I'm going to come back to Padlet and show you again where those templates are, and some of them are based on those kinds of thinking routines. So let me go back to the whiteboard. Project Zero has some really great stuff and some really good instructions, so feel free to check that out. And then I'm always thinking about those kind of great tools and great instructional methods that work really well offline, but maybe doing them online adds an extra element, or just maybe freshens it up, and you can do it sometimes offline or sometimes online. Even something simple like a think, pair, share. Like, what if you did that in a pair on a computer, and you're putting your idea there, and then it's kind of documented, or you're using multimedia, or you're doing something a little different to make it different that day. So let me come back here, and I believe we have some of these. Like, this is like a 3-2-1 reflection. And there's just a bunch of those in here. And if you lose that, you can just hit the plus button and it'll come back. So yeah, a bunch of really nice ones in here. Would you rather is kind of fun. Oh, this one's kind of fun too, like captioning a picture, 2 truths and a lie. So some of these are more related to something like Project Zero, and some of these are just other kinds of fun openers. Here is the mood meter idea that I was sharing a minute ago. It also could just be a simpler one on a single line here. Of course, the lovely KWO chart that is useful in many ways, or a See, Think, Wonder. I believe that's another Project Zero routine. So anyway, lots of different things to explore there that could be fun. And then one more idea here that I got from some teachers is we recently added this little emoji button that some of you played with in the last exercise. And we were just brainstorming with some teachers on what are some fun ways to use emojis. And again, emojis is just another way to kind of an engagement strategy, really. So like, oh, it's kind of fun, it's visual. It can be another way that you can engage students, but then you can still connect that back to the academic goals that you have. So you could retell historical events, you could plan out or retell a story, you could guess the meaning of idioms or phrases. We talked about the mood meter, checking how people are feeling, making art, giving feedback, sharing your favorite hobbies. So a lot of things you could do with emojis. This is one example from I believe this was a high school teacher, and I thought this was really cool. They put a little library of emojis that they'd chosen about the story of globalization. And so students had read an article and discussed an article, and then this was another way they showed their thinking in just kind of another fun visual way. So he made this grid with student names and then had them put emojis in to talk about what they had learned. And then actually in this class, he did a great job of doing some things that were online like this, and then having discussion in class as well. So he had a couple of students share their thinking and kind of walk us through what these emojis were that they had chosen. And so that was just a fun way for them to express those ideas a little differently. So lots of flexibility. I think one of the things that is really fun about whiteboards and about tools like Padlet that have all of these different options is you can do a lot of different things, and sometimes you just need to see the ideas because sometimes just that blank slate doesn't really tell you all the things that are possible. So hopefully one or two of these things might resonate with all of you. The next thing I want to share a little bit more about is assignments. So there's a tool. Actually, let me go back to something like a comic strip. So we have a comic strip template. You can do something like this to get started with, and then you could fill it in a lot more, right? You could put in speech bubbles. It could be about a particular topic that you're learning about it, or it could just be a fictional kind of exercise in storytelling. These images could be images you find on the web, again, through these tools. You can search for images, or you can generate some AI images if you want something very specific to tell your story. So that's one of our other templates. And then thinking a little bit more about assignments. So for some of these, it's really fun to do as a group, like that first question we did. It was fun to see each other's responses. We were all on there together, or maybe even we could break up into groups on different cards. But sometimes it's a more individual activity. So this is another one of the templates in that library of templates. And this is really more of an individual filling this out. So we have a tool in Sandbox that makes that really easy. So you can make a template or use one of our built-in templates. I could customize this a little more if I wanted to for what I wanted to learn about my group. And then I could come to the sharing arrow. So this is where you would get the link or the QR code, but you can also get this special kind of link right here. So this is an auto remake link. And what that means is you'll have one link that you can give to all of your students, and it will make a forced copy for them of this. It'll be their own copy. So they will fill it out. Other students won't see it. Only the teacher and the student who clicked on that link will see that copy. And then when I come in here, first of all, here's the link. So I would get that link. I would share that link with students. It would make a copy for them. It would put their name in parentheses. And then they would be looking at their own copy, and the teacher can still have access to that. And then what I really like is all the copies are listed down here. So I have a record of everyone who has done this, and then I can click into any of them. Even as they're in the middle of editing it, I, as the teacher, can come and look at Eliza's copy and say, oh, cool, okay, she likes pupusas, looks like she's just about done with this. And then I can go back and look at Carolyn's, and I have them all right there in one place to kind of look at myself or share back with the class if we want to do that. Oh, great question. There's a question of, is this assignment creator available in regular Padlet as well? And yes, it's available in both, and it's in kind of the same place here. So I went to the sharing arrow and then auto remake link. So this is a regular Padlet board that I'm on. So just imagine this were a Padlet board assignment. I could do the same thing over here and come down to auto remake link. So yeah, very flexible. You could do it whatever your template is. If it's in one of our standard boards or if it's one of our whiteboards, you can use that kind of assignment creator link is a good way to describe it. One special thing about our whiteboards, you can see, let me go back to this. So you can see that they're organized actually quite a bit like slide decks. So you can actually import, if you have a PDF or you have a Google slide deck or a PowerPoint, you can actually import it and it will drop it into a Sandbox for you. So I find that most useful when there are interactive pieces of something, of like maybe I have a PDF of something and maybe we usually print it out, but there's some interactive pieces that actually would work really well on a Sandbox. I can just import it into Sandbox and use it there instead. The way I would do that is on my make page here. I have these import options here. So I would click on that, and then I could link up my Google account if I wanted to, or I could just upload a PDF. So I already uploaded one, actually several, and I'll show you those. So once it uploads, it'll just appear on screen, and then it will also create a folder for you on your top Padlet.com page, and it's called Imports right here. So here under my imports, I have a bunch of slide decks and PDFs and things that I've uploaded here. This is one that I really like. This is out of Stanford. They did empathy interview kind of design thinking exercise, and really this could be done at all different ages. And this is a PDF that you can download and print out, and oftentimes people do this in written format, just kind of paper and pencil. And it has these different elements to ask to interview a partner, reframe the problem, and kind of capture information, brainstorm about ways to meet somebody's needs. And I think this works really well on Sandbox because you could do a lot of interesting things with our tools. So for example, as you're interviewing somebody, I could come over here to this audio recorder and I could record the conversation or pieces of the conversation. And I could just do that right here in the board. And then I have my little interview right there. I could take notes here, so I could just take my notes here. Those notes could be text, or I could actually put in some emojis, or I could use some images there. I could fill out these sentence frames, show visuals. So anyway, you get the idea. You can do a lot of multimedia things that you could take any assignment that you already have and drop it in here if that would give you some extra capabilities. And then lastly, I just wanted to show a couple of other visual presentations that you could do in Sandbox. So this was a fun one that a student made a whole fictional story. So this was done in Sandbox, and they uploaded some images. They kind of stylized it a little bit with some extra things, tilted their images, added some GIFs that moved around, and added some sound effects. And so really beautiful, right? They could do all of these things, similar to how a lot of students are using things like Google Slides. And I did want to take you into some other examples here. Let me show you one or two more from here. Similar to Padlet boards, you can have a collection of things. So these can link off to other things. So you can have somebody do an activity. So it can be a very interactive, collaborative space, or it could also be like a sequence of instructions that you want students, like assignment that you want them to accomplish. So here, they're supposed to complete all of these games and play these different kind of matching games or sorting games or memory games, and then come over here and record themselves saying different words, adding your own words, maybe making sentences. So you can see how Sandbox can be a collaborative space. It can be a place for resources, a sequence of activities, or a single assignment that you could then make copies of for your students. So lots of different ways you could use it. So whichever way kind of resonates with you or feels like it could be a nice fit for what you're doing in your classroom could be something to try next. And I'll just show you, I started to click on this a minute ago. So from my Make page here, we have over here, it's kind of small, but there's a link to see examples. And so as you're learning a little bit more about Sandbox and want to see what's possible, you'll see a bunch more ideas here. Some of these are similar to ones I've already showed you, like that Foursquare with the number of the day. I showed you this story. There's some different diagrams, Venn diagrams, or flow charts, or concept maps you could do. Could just be some brainstorming or debating. And then, actually, this is one of my favorites too. You could upload either a full PDF or, like I was showing earlier, or you could just take a picture of a piece of text and highlight it, analyze it, could do some text annotation there as well. So it has a lot of different uses, and I think people have a lot of fun using the different tools, and even for young students, I think very quickly figure out how to use it. It works really well on tablets and phones as well. Even like if you want to draw something with your finger or move things around, you can do that right there. Another place you can explore examples is we have this other tab called Gallery right here. And so this has a bunch of different examples on Padlet boards and on Padlet Sandbox. And one of our filters down here in the lower left is for Sandbox. So otherwise, those are kind of a mix of all different kinds of templates. But if you select Sandbox here, you can look at some of our other templates. And some of these I've already showed you, but some of these might be new. If you click on these, you can preview them. There's a calendar. I can look at number of the day. And whichever one I like, I can click on Create, and that's another way I can kind of jump to make something that I like the template for. And then the last way I'll mention about making a sandbox is if you, say you liked one of the examples we did. So let me go back to maybe this All About Me is a good example. And if you like the look of this and you want to make something similar, for Padlets, Padlet boards, or Sandboxes, there's this remake button right here. So I can very easily make my own copy of something, and then I can use that with my students. So I just click on remake. I can rename it if I want there. And I have some options here. I can choose to copy all of the objects, or sometimes if it's something that lots of students have been participating on, I can just copy the admin objects and it'll clear out all the student responses. So this is a nice tool, or I can copy nothing if I want to, and just get the kind of frame of it. So when I make that copy, now I have my own copy, it's in my account, and I can choose if I want to share this out with students or what I want to do with it. I mentioned earlier that we have a whole media hub with upcoming webinars of our own and also recordings of past sessions if you want to learn about anything else we've been up to. And we also have our own PD courses. You'll get a certificate at the end of any of those so that you can keep track of everything. We are coming towards the end here, so I'm going to pass it back to Linda for some wrap-up.
Thanks, Zareen. We'll see you on the next hike.